What was the pettiest reason you refused to date someone? He stared at me blankly when I said the word Republican when describing one of my family members. I followed up and sure enough, he literally had no idea what the word Republican meant and didn't know about our largely two-party system. He was in his late 20s. If you're not into politics, that's one thing. But he had managed to live nearly 3 decades in our country without knowing basic information about our political system. My brain could not comprehend and I worried about what other basic information he had managed to avoid was. 'Twas a hard no on my end. Joke's on you, he was actually a big fan of Plato's Republic and was waiting for you to talk about how your uncle loved the allegory of the cave. She was a volunteer at the zoo and when kids asked her questions she didn't know the answer to, she would make something up and lie. Growing up on zoo books and Steve Irwin, I take animal facts very seriously. He didn't rack his weights. I will never, for the life of me, understand why people don't return rack their weights. My new car kept scraping on the bottom while pulling out of their steep driveway to the main road. After the 4th time of trying to be careful and it still scraped. Went on a first date to the movies. This freaking guy, instead of picking up his drink and lifting the straw to his mouth, he would put his hands on his knees, keeping his eyes on the screen, and lean over to the drink and hunt for the straw with his face and his mouth contorted sideways trying to land on the straw. Weirdest crap ever. I did that when I was a kid, imitating what I saw on TV, but that crap is inefficient. A very attractive, fun, smart woman asked me if I wanted to go get ice cream with her. I turned her down but I guess in a way that she felt was flirty, so she kept asking. And finally I had to tell her I was turning her down because she had both my mother's first and last name. She laughed a lot and agreed we couldn't date. All these posts about not dating people with the same name makes me grateful my mom has a very foreign, uncommon name. She was super hot, but she smelled. I don't know if she didn't shower or use deodorant, but she just smelled funky. I couldn't do it. My best girlfriend at the time was like, just tell her. How do you tell a girl you've known for a few weeks that she smells bad? So I just stopped talking to her. Brilliant. Weird enough is that sometimes people just smell like that, without necessarily have a medical condition, so, good call. People who smell spent a bunch of time trying to find a way to stop smelling bad to just have the answer that is their natural odor. Her complete inability to follow the plot of a movie. Who's that? Where'd he come from? Why'd she do that? Who is he again? I just couldn't. He would call me his beautiful angle. He really didn't know how to spell angel, so for 5 months I put up with being an angle. Also dated a guy who wanted to put a singular wide trailer on his parents' front lawn and thought I was unreasonable for not wanting to move in with him once he did so. I used to see a guy that used to say soulmate instead of soulmate. Clearly, I was neither, but that spelling error really bothered me, lol. She would insist on a job interview level of formality whenever we talked. After sex. Thanks for having me today. He wore a Bluetooth piece in his ear. The constant blue light blinking from the side of his head was too much for me. Another guy would text dame instead of dang. It wasn't a typo either, it was every time. I wonder if he was on a call the whole time so someone could help him with the date LMAO. I went out on a few dates with a guy that I had been really into for months. I was starting to realize he wasn't the brightest bulb in the room. Then one day he said he liked watching commercials on TV and that was that. He was wearing a hideous brown fake leather jacket. It was so old that the leather had started to flake off and parts were just now canvas. He kept stopping to look at himself in windows and saying, "Oh god, I look so hot today, I just can't believe how hot I look," smoothing down his manky jacket. Side-eyeing me, expecting me to agree with him. I left so he could be alone with his jacket. My mom stopped dating a guy because he unfastened and refastened the velcro on his shoes throughout an entire movie, at the movie theater. She called someone a pompous. Nope, she didn't say he was acting pompous or that he was a pompous, but he was a pompous. I was the receiver of the petty reason, not the giver. When I was in college, a girl wouldn't go on a second date with me because my dorm room was too clean. Everything was going great. Thought she was an amazing girl and we'd been seeing each other for 2 months. Go to her house for the first time and it was a little messy, but nothing to write home about. Then I go to the bathroom and put up the toilet seat. I don't think she'd ever cleaned the bottom of the toilet seat given how disgusting it was. From then on, the only thing I could think about when talking or being with her was that disgusting toilet seat. Every time I touched her, I would smell of egg. Like holding hands, egg, hug her, my shirt would smell of egg. Strangest bit was, she didn't smell like that whatsoever. Also, when I broke it off, the egg smelling stopped. So I DK. There are perfumes that are incompatible. When they mix it stinks real bad like eggs. My buddy had that problem with his body wash and his laundry detergent. We had to do an intervention. It was probably just your laundry products. She once wanted a burger without chips. I wanted one with chips. She ate all of my chips. Her reason was that because I wasn't eating my chips because I didn't want them. I asked her if I didn't want then why did I order them? This ain't petty. It would frick me senseless mentally to be with someone who cannot put her fricking demands in a clear manner and ask for chips. They did that thing where they inflect their voice upwards at the end of everything they say as if it were a question. After about 10 minutes talking to them I was completely done. I just read your comment in that exact way and it honestly terrifies me. She lived across the bridge and I hate going across the bridge. This isn't just any bridge. This is the bridge. Not me, but someone I worked with refused to date this very handsome, successful and kind man because he has too many things in his pockets. His laugh. It was the weirdest sounding laugh I've ever heard. The first time I heard it I was like nope, can't deal with that for the rest of my life. You missed out, Jimmy Carr is huge now. He tried to say what I was saying, as in at the same time. He started mouthing it and then slowly including more and more voice. I would stop talking and start again. He mimicked the whole time. We had a date and it went well but at the end she said I needed to contact her because her value was higher than mine and I simply didn't call he again to prove my worth being the greater. I don't know if it worked. Dodge a bullet there. I had to explain everything to a girl. Everything. I still don't know if she was exceptional stupid or tried to keep the conversation going and was just really bad at it. Do you remember the guy who acted like he didn't know what a potato was? Texting with her was exactly like that. He was awful in a trivia game we were playing. I mean, really bad. Like it was his first day pretending to be a human on Earth and the aliens hadn't briefed him sufficiently. He said he'd do a full health check on any pets I had. I was pretty peeved at the implication that I might not be caring for them. Also, he wasn't a vet. That's hilarious. Idiocy is always surprising to me. Always. He wouldn't stop calling me endearments like love and sweetheart. This was via WhatsApp before we had met in person. And even after I told him I didn't like it and to please stop. Did not get to first date. Not a small reason, Emo. Asking someone to stop calling you pet names is reasonable, and in my experience if they're not willing to listen to your no's early on then they're not going to listen when the no is about something bigger. During sex, she would close her eyes and frown in concentration. Once my brain made the connection that she looked like Sam the Eagle from the Muppets, it was over for me. Thank you. Was hoping someone else posted something similar. Dated a guy whose O-face made him look like a baby bird with its mouth open looking for food. He also had this fluffy hair that stood up like tufts of bird feathers. Once seen it could not be unseen. I just didn't want to keep driving to that part of town because of traffic. This is LA dating in a nutshell. She's perfect but she lives in Burbank. He got a few consecutive bites out of my ice cream on our first date without asking me and before I even tasted my own ice cream, and didn't even offer his to me. Not a petty reason at all. That's totally legitimo. I got put on a blind date because I'm a redhead and this guy knew this absolute babe who had a this for gingers. Half an hour into this date she just flat out tells me I'm not ginger enough. Turns out she was attracted to pasty white freckled curly haired gingers, not whatever the frick I am. At least she was honest. Bloody brilliant. My most liked anything is about not being ginger enough XD. There was a guy I liked and we were flirting a lot, and then he asked my roommate out on a date. They went out and she said he spent the whole time asking about me. So we asked his friend about it, and apparently he had what he thought was a brilliant plan to go out with my roommate so I would become jealous and want to go out with him. Except I had been more than willing to date him if he had asked me instead of my roommate. He called me a week after the date with my roommate trying to spin some story about how going out with her showed him how much he liked me and asked if I wanted to go out. I told him I don't go on dates with guys who have dated my friends. Yeah, this isn't petty. This is just legit. She had a nose job done, which is not a judgment on my part, but her pictures were of pre-nose job and she just looked very different in person. She kept using the chick emoji when she texted and said hello instead of hello. Her face resembled a chick as well, and I couldn't unsee that. About 3 weeks in, I cooked dinner. It was the first time we had eaten dinner quietly at home as a date. His chewing noises drove me up the wall. I noped out after that. I wish I had eaten more cereal with my husband before I married him. I'm forced to leave the room when he eats it. The crunching, smacking and slurping sounds make me hear the Kill Bill sirens. She thought every cup mug held the same volume of liquid and burned her hand transferring a beverage that was clearly larger than the intended holder. Every time I took a bite of food he asked me a question, after which he stared at me while I finished chewing. The date went on like this for an hour. He had a supernatural sense of poor timing. His tattoos. He had this god-awful Medusa looking thing on his right calf. I went on a hike with him and had to stare at that freaking tattoo for 2 solid hours. I ended it when we got off the mountain. His Medusa tattoo made your feelings turn to stone. I had a woman I was flirting with tell me she couldn't date me because I hadn't gotten that first marriage out of the way. I wasn't sure I understood her correctly, but she explained. Because I was never married, she didn't want to be my first divorce. Seemed cynical, but I also felt I dodged a bad situation right up front. Wow, this blew up. My first Reddit comment that started a chain reaction. Thank you for the medals and so interesting to read all the comments. Someone I know once attended a wedding where the unenthusiastic mother of one of the couple was greeting guests with welcome to name starter marriage. She was right though, it didn't last. Dated a friend of a friend. She was easily a 10/10. She jumped me and made out with me. Her version of kissing was sucking my lips until they were swollen red within a minute. I might be the only man alive who told her it's getting late. You should go home. It's getting late. You should go home has to be the coldest crap I've heard in my life, like yikes. I told him I was watching Scrubs and he told me very proudly he was just like Dr. Cox. I thought if anyone thinks describing themselves as Dr. Cox is a good thing they must be a dong, so what's the point? I like Dr. Cox on a show, but it would be horrible to be around him ever. I dumped my first boyfriend for holding my hand, taking it way too far. I was 15. Obviously the concept of teenage pregnancy completely mystified me. First date, we went to see a movie. After it was over he got up leaving the popcorn and soda trash. I started to pick it up, and he stopped me, saying they have people for that. As a member of the service industry, there's no way I could date someone like that. He wore a horrible pink shirt with palm leaves on it. It looked like woven vomit. Would have been okay with that, but he thought it's the crap because it was a designer shirt. He bought it second hand. He thought I'd be falling in love because it's a DS shirt and he can afford it. The attitude and his ego made me wave goodbye after 5 minutes of the date. We didn't even leave the train station. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.